The German shepherd's teeth sank into the gray suitcase before anyone could stop him. Alarms screamed, passengers scattered, but Rex wouldn't let go, because something inside that case was alive, and it was dying. What Officer Mark Daniels found when they cut it open didn't just shock the airport. It exposed a criminal network so dark, so twisted, that within hours, every major agency in the country would be hunting its leaders. But first, they had to survive what came next. Before we go further, hit that subscribe button right now. This story gets darker, more dangerous, and more unbelievable with every minute. Stay until the end and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far Rex's story travels. Now, let's get back to that morning when everything changed. Mark Daniels had learned one truth in 11 years as a canine officer. Dogs don't lie. Rex proved it that Monday morning. 5:47 a.m., Terminal 4. Mark clipped the lead onto Rex's collar and headed into the crowds. The German shepherd's nose worked constantly, filtering thousands of scents most people would never notice. "Officer Daniels," Security Supervisor Jenny Holbrook waved from Checkpoint 3. "Scanners are glitching. Can you sweep Carousel 3? "On it." They moved through baggage claim. 40 bags circled the belt. Black roller, red duffel, cardboard box, blue backpack, gray suitcase. Rex froze. Every muscle locked. Tail dropped. Ears flattened back. "Rex?" The dog growled. Low. Dangerous. Mark had only heard that sound twice before. "What have you got, boy?" Rex lunged. His teeth clamped onto the gray suitcase, and he shook violently, dragging it off the carousel. The bag hit the floor hard. "Rex, off!" The dog ignored him. Rex never ignored commands. Mark grabbed his radio. "Control, K94. Need backup at Carousel 3. Rex is alerted." Captain Torres's voice crackled back. "Copy. Clearing the area," the speakers blared. "Evacuate baggage claim immediately. This is not a drill." People screamed, grabbed children, ran for exits. A woman fell. A man shoved past Mark so hard he stumbled. Rex didn't move, just held that suitcase, growling. 90 seconds later, the terminal was empty. Footsteps pounded behind Mark. 4 TSA officers, 3 airport police, Captain Torres with her weapon drawn. Torres was 50-something, gray-streaked hair, eyes that missed nothing. "What have we got?" "I don't know. Rex alerted but won't release. He's never done this." Torres studied the suitcase. Standard gray hardshell, 24 inches. Nothing unusual. "Get the bomb squad." Mark's mouth went dry. "Captain, I need to pull him back. Nobody touches that bag." Then they heard it. Thump, from inside the suitcase. Everyone went silent. Thump, louder this time, like something hitting the inside wall. What Mark heard next would haunt him for months. Torres raised her hand. "Everyone back, now!" Officers retreated. Mark stayed put, one hand on Rex's collar. The dog was trembling, whining between growls. "Mark," Torres said quietly, "you need to move." "Rex won't let go." Thump, thump, thump. The suitcase rocked on the floor. "Oh God," a TSA officer whispered. "Something's alive in there." Mark's training kicked in. He'd seen smugglers use live animals as decoys, but Rex had never reacted like this. The bomb squad arrived, 3 specialists in protective gear. Lead Tech Rodriguez assessed everything in 5 seconds. "Clear the terminal. Everyone out." "It's evacuated," Torres said. "I mean everyone, all personnel. Back to the security line. That's 200 yards. Torres's jaw tightened. "This is my airport." And that could be an IED. I need everyone back, now. They moved. Mark tried pulling Rex back, but the dog's teeth were locked. Come on, boy, let go. Rex's eyes rolled toward Mark, and Mark saw something he'd never seen before: terror. He's scared, Mark said. He's trying to protect us. Officer Daniels, Rodriguez's voice was sharp. Get that dog back now, or I'm tranquilizing him. Mark wrapped both arms around Rex's chest and pulled hard. The dog's teeth scraped against the handle, but he didn't release. I'm sorry, boy. Mark pulled harder. Rex's paws skidded on the floor. With one final heave, Rex's teeth came free. They stumbled backward together, hitting the floor. Rex immediately tried to lunge forward, but Mark held tight. Easy, I've got you. Rodriguez and his team approached the case. One carried a scanner. Another had surgical-looking tools. The third filmed everything. Mark dragged Rex back to the security line, where Torres waited. The dog fought every step, claws scratching tile, whining. What's wrong with him? Torres asked. I don't know. They watched Rodriguez work. Slow, methodical. The scanner beeped. Rodriguez's voice came through Torres's radio. Captain, we've got a problem. What kind? Scanner's picking up organic material. Heat signature. Movement. Also electronic components. Multiple ones. And chemical compounds we can't identify. Chemical? Like explosives? Can't tell. But there's something biological. And it's alive. Thump. 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 Faster now. More frantic. Captain, Rodriguez said, do we open it or blow it in place? Torres looked at Mark. Your dog. Your call. Mark's heart hammered. Rex was still pulling, trying to reach the case. The dog knew something. Open it, Mark said. Carefully. Rodriguez nodded. Opening now. He worked a tool into the seam. The lock clicked. Rodriguez lifted the lid slowly, then stepped back fast, nearly tripping. Jesus Christ! What? Torres demanded. What is it? You need to see this. They ran forward, Torres, Mark dragging Rex, the other officers. Mark looked inside. His world stopped. A puppy, small, maybe 8 weeks old, black and brown, curled on a stained blanket, eyes half closed, breathing shallow, rapid, foam at its mouth. But that wasn't what made Mark's stomach drop. The puppy was wrapped in plastic sheeting, sealed except for a small hole near its nose. Beneath the plastic, pressed against the tiny body, were dozens of packages. Heat-sealed bags filled with white powder. And beneath those, wired to a small black device pulsing with a red light, was a transmitter. It's a mule, an officer whispered. They used a puppy as a drug mule. Torres was already on her radio. I need animal control and hazmat at Terminal 4, and get me DEA. Rodriguez pointed at the transmitter. Captain, that's not a GPS tracker. Look at the circuit board. That's a biomonitor. Medical grade. Reading the dog's vital signs. Why would smugglers need medical readings? They wouldn't, unless... Rodriguez's face went pale. Unless whatever's in those bags is experimental, something that needs specific temperatures, specific conditions. They're using the puppy as an incubator. The truth was worse than Mark could have imagined. Mark released the lead. Rex padded forward slowly, tail low. He sniffed the edge of the suitcase. The puppy's eyes cracked open. It saw Rex and made a tiny sound. Rex lowered his head and gently touched his nose to the puppy's face. "Oh my God," a female officer said, voice breaking. He knew. He knew the puppy was dying. "How long does it have?" Mark asked. Rodriguez checked a device. Heart rate's dropping. Oxygen levels critical. Maybe 30 minutes? Maybe less. Whatever's in those bags is toxic. It's been absorbing through the plastic, poisoning the animal. Can we save it? Not here. Not without knowing what we're dealing with. If we cut it free and those bags rupture. He didn't finish. Torres made a decision. Get that puppy to the veterinary hospital at Collins Air Base. They've got biocontainment. Move it as is. Don't open anything. Don't touch the packages. Rodriguez, you go. Mark, Rex, you too. Why us? Because Rex found it. Right now, he's the only one that puppy trusts. They worked fast. Rodriguez sealed the suitcase in a containment bag. 2 officers cleared a path outside. Mark carried Rex, who kept looking back, whining. The drive to Collins took 17 minutes with full escort. Mark sat in the back of the armored transport, Rex's head in his lap, watching Rodriguez monitor the transmitter. It's still sending signals, Rodriguez said. Every 30 seconds. Data bursts. Sending to who? Don't know. Could be anywhere. DEA's trying to trace it, but whoever set this up knows what they're doing. Encryption's military grade. Mark stroked Rex's ears. You ever seen anything like this? Rodriguez was quiet. I've seen drug smugglers do terrible things. Swallow balloons, use kids as carriers. But using a living animal as a biocontainer for experimental materials? No, this is something new. Something worse. What they were about to discover would shock them even more. They arrived at Collins. A team was waiting. 2 vets, 3 technicians, all in protective gear. The lead vet was Dr. Sarah Chen, 40s, sharp eyes, steady hands. She looked at the puppy and started barking orders. Get it into ISO chamber 3. I need blood work, tissue samples, full spectrum analysis on whatever's in those bags. Don't open them. Use the spectrometer through the plastic. And somebody call Fort Detrick. If this is what I think it is, we need their bioweapons team. Bioweapons? Mark felt cold. You think this is terrorism? Dr. Chen looked at him. I think someone's using a puppy to transport something extremely dangerous. Whether that's terrorism, corporate espionage, or something else, I don't know. But that transmitter isn't just monitoring vitals. It's collecting data. Someone wants to know if whatever they're shipping survives the trip. They moved the puppy into a sealed chamber. Dr. Chen worked through remote controls while they watched through glass. Puppy's critical, she said, eyes on monitors. Severe poisoning, neurological damage, respiratory distress, 20% chance without intervention. What do you need? Torres had arrived minutes after them. I need to know what's in those bags. Can't give antidotes without knowing the toxin. Rodriguez studied the transmitter readings. Doctor, the biomonitor is showing compound signatures. Can you cross-reference? Dr. Chen pulled up a database. Running it now. They waited. 60 seconds. 90. The puppy's breathing was getting worse. Small chest rising, falling, too fast. Rex pressed against the glass, whining. Come on, Mark whispered. Dr. Chen's screen flashed red. Oh no. What? These compounds, synthetic cannabinoids, but not street drugs. Research-grade analogs, experimental variants that don't exist on any controlled substance list yet. More potent than fentanyl. More unstable than carfentanil. Completely undetectable by standard tests. Torres's face hardened. Someone's testing designer drugs. Not just testing. That transmitter is recording how the compounds break down in living tissue. How fast they're absorbed. What the lethal dosage is. They're using the puppy as a lab rat. Mark felt rage building. Can you save it? I can try, but I need authorization for experimental treatments. These drugs don't have established antidotes. Do it, Torres said. I'll handle the paperwork. Dr. Chen's hands moved quickly. Robotic arms inside the chamber extended, carefully cutting away plastic. The puppy made a weak sound. "We're losing it," a technician said. "Heart rate dropping." "Not yet, we're not." Dr. Chen activated another system. Clear fluid began flowing through an IV. "That's a broad-spectrum binder. Should neutralize some toxins. Now we wait." 1 minute. 2. 5. The puppy's breathing slowed, deepened. Eyes opened wider. "It's working," the technician said. "Heart rate stabilizing." Rex barked once, sharp, hopeful. Dr. Chen exhaled. "We're not out of the woods, but that's a start. Now we need to figure out where this came from." Torres's radio crackled. "Captain, this is DEA Agent Morrison. We've traced the transmitter signal." "Where's it going?" "That's the problem. It's not going to one location. It's broadcasting to 17 different receivers, 7 countries. The encryption suggests this is part of a much larger network." "What kind of network?" Pause. "We think this is a smuggling pipeline for black market biotech. Designer drugs, experimental compounds, possibly genetic material. And if they're using animals as carriers, this could be happening at airports worldwide." Mark felt sick. "How many?" "We don't know, but that puppy? That might be the first one we've caught." Torres looked at Mark. "Your dog just exposed an international trafficking ring." Rodriguez was still studying his device. "Captain, the transmitter just changed its broadcast pattern. It's sending out an alert." "Alert?" "Yeah, like it knows we discovered it. The signal's getting stronger, more frequent." The lights went out. Emergency generators kicked in. Red light bathed everything. Alarms shrieked. "What the hell?" Torres grabbed a radio. "Base security, what's happening?" "Breach at the north fence. Multiple intruders, armed, heading for the veterinary building." Mark's blood went cold. "They're coming for the puppy. And the drugs," Rodriguez said. "That transmitter just told them exactly where we are." Torres drew her weapon. "Lock this building down!" But it was too late. Gunfire erupted. Close. Too close. Rex was barking, hackles raised, teeth bared. Dr. Chen hit a button. Metal shutters descended over windows. "The chamber's sealed. Even if they get in, they can't access the puppy without codes." "They won't need codes if they have explosives," Rodriguez said. More gunfire. Closer. Footsteps running in the hallway. Mark grabbed Rex's collar. His weapon was in his hand. Torres and 2 base security officers took positions at the door. "How many?" Mark asked. Torres listened to her radio. "Security says 4, maybe 5. Professional, military training. They knew exactly where to breach." "Because the transmitter told them," Rodriguez said. "This whole thing's been a tracking device." The door shook. Something hit it from outside. Once, twice, 3 times. "That's a breaching tool," Torres said. "Next hit's going to blow the lock." "We need backup." "Backup's coming. Won't get here in time." Mark looked at Rex. The dog looked back, waiting for orders. 11 years together. Hundreds of shifts. Thousands of hours. They'd trained for this, but Mark had never thought it would actually happen. The door exploded inward. 3 men poured through. Black tactical gear, masks, automatic weapons. "Get down!" Torres fired twice. 1 attacker went down. The other 2 returned fire. Bullets ripped through equipment, glass shattered, someone screamed. Mark dove behind a steel cabinet, pulling Rex with him. The dog was snarling, desperate to attack. "Stay!" Mark commanded. "Stay!" Another attacker came through the door. 4 now. No, 5. They were spreading out, flanking. One headed straight for the containment chamber where the puppy was. "He's going for the dog!" Dr. Chen shouted. Torres shot at him. Missed. The attacker raised his weapon toward the glass. Rex broke free from Mark's grip. The shepherd launched himself across the room, 65 pounds of muscle and fury. He hit the attacker mid-chest, teeth finding throat. The man screamed. His weapon clattered away. "Rex, no!" Two more attackers turned toward the dog. Mark didn't think. He ran forward, firing as he moved. One shot, two, three. One attacker stumbled. The other spun toward Mark. Torres shot him from the side. He dropped. "Mark, get back!" But Mark was already sliding toward Rex. The dog had the first attacker pinned, jaws locked. The man wasn't moving. The last attacker standing was trying to reach the containment chamber. He had something in his hand. Small. Cylindrical. "That's a thermal charge," Rodriguez yelled. "He's going to melt through the glass." The attacker threw it. The device stuck to the chamber wall. Started beeping. 15 seconds. Dr. Chen was frantically typing. "I can't override it fast enough." Mark looked at Rex, at the puppy inside the chamber, still fighting for its life after someone had already tried to kill it once. At the attacker, reaching for another charge. What Mark did next wasn't in any training manual. He ran straight at the chamber, grabbed the thermal charge with his bare hand. It was hot, burning. He didn't care. He spun and threw it at the last attacker. The charge went off mid-air. The explosion was blinding, deafening. Heat washed over Mark as he dove behind the chamber. When his ears stopped ringing, the shooting had stopped. Smoke filled the room. Torres was on her radio, calling for medics. Rodriguez was checking the fallen attackers. Dr. Chen was at her controls, frantically checking the puppy's vitals. "Is it alive?" Mark asked. His voice sounded distant. His hand was screaming with pain. "Yes," Dr. Chen said. "Chamber held. The puppy's alive." Mark slumped against the wall. Rex limped over, blood on his muzzle. Not his blood. "Good boy," Mark whispered. "Good boy." Torres knelt beside him. "Let me see that hand." Mark looked down. His palm was a mess of burns and blisters. He hadn't even felt it until now. "You're an idiot," Torres said, but her voice was gentle. "A brave idiot."
Did we get them all?
"Yeah, 2 dead, 3 incapacitated. Base security's got the perimeter locked down tight. No one else is getting through."
Who were they?
"We'll find out. But they weren't amateurs. This was a professional extraction team." Rodriguez joined them. "Captain, I pulled data from the transmitter before it got damaged in the fight. You need to see this." "What is it?" The signal wasn't just broadcasting to receivers. It was receiving instructions. These compounds in the puppy? Someone's been remotely monitoring the entire experiment, adjusting variables, collecting data. This wasn't smuggling. Then what was it? Live human trials. They're testing these drugs on animals to see how they'll work in people. The puppy was test subject number 47. The room went silent. 47? Mark felt nauseous. "You're saying there were 46 others?" "At least. And based on the data patterns, most of them didn't survive."
Mark looked through the glass at the small black and brown puppy, still hooked to IVs, still fighting.
"How many airports?" Torres asked quietly. Rodriguez checked his device. "The network's active in 12 countries, 17 major airports. If each one's been running trials, we could be looking at hundreds of animals, maybe thousands. And when the trials are done," Dr. Chen said, "they'll start on humans. These compounds are too potent to exist. They'd create a synthetic drug epidemic that would make the opioid crisis look minor." Mark struggled to his feet. Rex pressed against his leg, offering support. So what do we do? Mark asked. Torres stood. We shut them down. Every airport, every receiver, every person connected to this network. DEA's already mobilizing. FBI's getting involved. Interpol. This just became the biggest trafficking case in history. And it started because one dog wouldn't let go of a suitcase, Rodriguez said. They all looked at Rex. The shepherd sat calmly now, tongue out, tail wagging slightly, just doing his job. He saved that puppy's life, Dr. Chen said. Twice. He saved more than that, Torres said. If this shipment had made it through, if we hadn't found it. She didn't finish. They didn't need her to. Mark knew what she meant. That puppy was supposed to die. The data was supposed to transmit. The compounds were supposed to move on to the next phase. Human testing, mass production, distribution. Rex had stopped it all with one bite. Captain, a base security officer called from the doorway. You need to hear this. We identified one of the attackers. Who? Lena Voss, former military, dishonorable discharge 3 years ago for trafficking. She's been on Interpol's watch list for black market biotech smuggling. But we've never been able to touch her. No evidence. Until now. Torres walked over to where one of the incapacitated attackers lay. A woman, late 30s. Cold eyes even in defeat. Torres pulled off her mask. Lena Voss. The woman smiled, blood on her teeth. You think you stopped it? This was only a test. A test for what? You'll find out. We all will. This network? It's bigger than you can imagine. Bigger than airports. Bigger than drugs. You caught one shipment. Congratulations. There are hundreds more you'll never find. We'll see about that. Lena laughed. It was an ugly sound. That dog got lucky. Next time, there won't be a dog. Torres stood. Take her to holding, maximum security, no communication with anyone. As they dragged Lena away, her words echoed in Mark's mind. Next time, there won't be a dog. But there would be. There'd be Rex, and thousands of other canines just like him, working every day to keep people safe from threats they'd never see coming. Mark knelt beside Rex. The dog licked his face, tail wagging harder now. You did good, partner. Really good. Dr. Chen approached. Officer Daniels, I need to treat that hand. You've got second-degree burns. In a minute. How's the puppy? Dr. Chen smiled. Stabilizing. Vitals are improving. The antidote's working. I actually think he's going to make it. Can Rex see him? See him? I think Rex deserves more than that. Dr. Chen led them to a small window in the containment chamber. Through the glass, they could see the puppy more clearly now. Someone had cleaned him up. The IVs were still in place, but he was breathing easier, eyes more alert. Rex pressed his nose against the glass. The puppy saw him and managed to lift his head. Their eyes met. 2 dogs, 2 survivors, understanding something humans never could. What happens to him? Mark asked. After he recovers. Officially, he's evidence, but... Dr. Chen looked at Torres. The captain shrugged. Far as I'm concerned, that dog's a hero. When the case is closed, he deserves a home. A good one. Mark felt Rex lean against him, felt the warmth, the trust, the bond built over 11 years of partnership. I think I know someone who might be interested, Mark said quietly. Torres smiled. I thought you might. The radio crackled. Captain Torres, this is Agent Morrison. We've executed simultaneous raids on 6 locations tied to the trafficking network. We've got suspects in custody, documents, computers, bank records. This is going to bring down the whole organization. How many animals did you find? Pause. 12 so far, all in critical condition, but alive. We're getting them to facilities now. Mark closed his eyes. 12 more. 12 animals who'd been used as lab rats, poisoned, smuggled, treated like objects instead of living creatures. But alive, because Rex had refused to let go of one gray suitcase. Officer Daniels, Torres said, you should get that hand treated. You've done enough for today. In a minute. I need a minute.
Torres nodded and walked away, leaving Mark and Rex alone at the window. The puppy was watching them. He tried to stand, wobbled, fell back down. But his tail was wagging now. Small movements, but definite. You're a fighter, little guy, Mark whispered. Just like Rex. You're going to be okay. Rex whined softly, pawed at the glass. I know, boy. I know you want to help him. You already did. You saved his life. But Rex wasn't satisfied with that. The shepherd kept pawing, kept whining. He wanted to be with the puppy, wanted to protect him. Dr. Chen came back. The burns need immediate treatment, Officer Daniels. Okay. Mark straightened. Come on, Rex. But the dog wouldn't move, just kept staring at that puppy through the glass. He won't leave, Mark said. Not until he knows the puppy's really safe. Dr. Chen looked at them both. At the loyal shepherd who'd risked everything. At the tiny puppy fighting for its life. At the connection between them that transcended species, circumstance, everything. Give me a few hours, she said. Once the puppy's stable enough, I'll bring him out. Let them meet properly. Will that work? Rex's tail wagged. I think that's a yes, Mark said. They waited. Mark got his hand treated and bandaged. Rex lay by the chamber window, watching. Torres coordinated with federal agents. Rodriguez processed evidence. Base security locked down every entrance. And inside the chamber, the puppy kept fighting. 4 hours later, Dr. Chen emerged with the small dog wrapped in a clean blanket. Still hooked to a portable IV, but alert. Alive. He's not out of danger yet, she said. But he's strong. Stronger than he should be. She knelt and carefully placed the puppy on the floor in front of Rex. The two dogs stared at each other. The puppy was tiny compared to Rex. Maybe 4 pounds. Black fur with brown patches. Big eyes that had seen too much suffering already. Rex lowered his head slowly, sniffed the puppy gently. The smaller dog didn't flinch, didn't cower. Instead, he leaned forward and touched his tiny nose to Rex's. Mark's throat tightened. He'd seen a lot in 11 years. Violence, death, cruelty beyond imagination. But this small moment of connection between two survivors, this was something different. Something that reminded him why he'd become a cop in the first place. What should we call him? Dr. Chen asked. Mark thought about it. About everything this puppy had survived. About what Rex had done to save him. Lucky, Mark said. His name's Lucky. Rex wagged his tail in agreement. Lucky, because despite everything that had been done to him, despite being used as a lab rat and smuggling container and disposable test subject, he was still here, still alive, still fighting. Torres joined them. The press is going to want this story. CNN's already calling. So is the Times. Let them wait, Mark said. This isn't about publicity. I know, but people need to know what happened here. What these networks are doing. How they're using animals. The more attention this gets, the harder it'll be for them to operate. She was right. Mark knew she was right. Okay, he said. But Rex and Lucky come first. They've been through enough. Agreed. That night,
After the statements and the reports and the endless questions from federal agents, Mark finally went home. Rex came with him. And so did Lucky, special authorization from Dr. Chen, as long as Mark agreed to bring him back for daily monitoring. Mark's apartment was still a mess. Still just a mattress and takeout containers. But now it had something else. 2 dogs. Rex claimed his usual spot by the bed. Lucky, in a small pet carrier with soft blankets, was placed nearby where Rex could watch him. Mark lay down, exhausted. His hand throbbed under the bandages. His mind was spinning with everything that had happened. "You did good today, partner," he said to Rex. "Really good." Rex huffed. "Just doing his job." Mark smiled. Then his phone buzzed. A text from his daughter Emily. "Dad, I saw the news. Are you okay? Is Rex okay?" His chest tightened. She was talking to him. After 3 weeks of silence. "We're fine," he texted back. "Rex is a hero. Again." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. "Can I come visit this weekend? I want to hear what happened. And I miss you." Mark's eyes burned. Yeah, I'd like that." He set the phone down and looked at Rex. "You didn't just save that puppy today. You might have saved more than you know." The shepherd's tail wagged once. Then he settled his head on his paws, eyes on Lucky's carrier, watching, protecting, always protecting. What Mark didn't know, what none of them knew yet, was that Lena Voss was right about one thing. This was just the beginning. In 7 countries, at 12 airports, the network was already adapting, already adjusting, already preparing their next move. Because Project Hyra wasn't just about drugs. It was about control, power, creating compounds that could bypass every detection system ever built. And Rex had just forced them to accelerate their timeline. The real war was coming. But tonight, none of that mattered. Tonight, 2 dogs slept safely. One shepherd who'd proven that loyalty and instinct could triumph over technology and cruelty. One puppy who'd survived against impossible odds. And tomorrow, they'd start healing. Together. Because that's what survivors do. They find each other in the darkness. And they hold on. Mark woke to Rex barking. Not his normal alert bark. This was different. Urgent. Terrified. He grabbed his phone. 3:47 a.m. He'd been asleep less than 2 hours. Rex was at the window, hackles raised, staring at the parking lot below. "What is it, boy?" Then Mark saw them. 3 vehicles, dark sedans, no headlights, pulling into the apartment complex slowly, deliberately. His blood went cold. They'd found him. Mark grabbed his service weapon from the bedside table and moved to the window. The sedans parked in a line, blocking both exits from the lot. Doors opened. 6 figures stepped out. Same tactical gear as the airport attackers. Same weapons. No, no, no! Mark's mind raced. He grabbed his phone and called Torres. She answered on the first ring. "Daniels, what's wrong?" "They're here, at my apartment. 6 hostiles. Same gear as before." "I'm sending units now. Get out. Don't engage." "I can't. I've got Lucky here. He's too fragile to move fast." "Then barricade and wait. 5 minutes. I can get people to you in 5 minutes." Mark looked at the clock. 5 minutes might as well be 5 hours. "Copy that." He hung up and moved fast. Grabbed Lucky's carrier. The puppy whimpered, sensing danger. Rex was at the door now, growling low. What Mark did in the next 30 seconds would determine if they survived. He shoved his couch against the door. Not much, but it might buy seconds. Then he grabbed his go bag,
always packed, always ready, and moved to the bedroom window. Fire escape, 3rd floor. Dangerous, but possible. Footsteps in the hallway outside. Rex's growl deepened. Mark opened the window as quietly as he could. Cold night air rushed in. He hooked Lucky's carrier to his belt, weapon in one hand, and climbed onto the fire escape. "Rex, come!" The dog hesitated, looking back at the door. "Now!" Rex jumped through the window just as something hit the apartment door. Hard. The couch scraped backward. Mark descended the fire escape as fast as he dared, Lucky's carrier swinging, Rex right behind him. Metal clanged under their feet. Too loud, too obvious. Above them, his apartment window exploded. Glass rained down. A figure appeared, weapon raised. "There!" Gunfire erupted. Bullets pinged off metal railings. Mark dropped the last 8 feet to the ground, hit hard, rolled. Pain shot through his burned hand, but he kept moving. Rex landed beside him, already running. They sprinted toward the only cover available, a row of dumpsters behind the complex. More gunfire. A bullet hit the pavement inches from Mark's foot. Another ricocheted off a dumpster. Mark dove behind cover, pulling Lucky's carrier close. The puppy was silent now, instinctively knowing noise meant death. Rex pressed against him, watching 3 directions at once. "Good boy. Stay quiet." Footsteps approached. Multiple attackers. Coordinating. Professional. Mark's phone buzzed silently. Text from Torres. 2 minutes. Hold on. 2 minutes. Mark had maybe 30 seconds before they flanked his position. He couldn't shoot his way out. Not with Lucky. Not against 6 trained operators. But he could run. The complex backed onto a wooded area. 50 yards of open ground, then trees. Darkness. Cover. "On 3, Mark whispered to Rex. "We run for the trees. Stay with me." Rex's muscles tensed. 1. Footsteps closer. 20 feet. Maybe less. 2. A figure appeared around the left dumpster. 3. Mark fired twice, forcing the attacker back, then ran. Full sprint. Lucky's carrier banged against his hip. Rex was a shadow beside him. 20 yards. 30. Gunfire erupted behind them. Bullets zipped past. One tugged at Mark's jacket. Another hit Lucky's carrier. But the angle was wrong. It ricocheted off the hard plastic. 40 yards. Almost there. Rex yelped, stumbled, kept running, but his gait was wrong. "No, no, no!" They hit the tree line. Branches whipped Mark's face. Roots tried to trip him. He kept moving, deeper into the woods, until the apartment lights were distant and the gunfire had stopped. He dropped behind a fallen log, gasping. Set Lucky's carrier down carefully, then turned to Rex. Blood on the shepherd's right rear leg. Not arterial, not immediately fatal, but bad enough. "Let me see, boy." Rex whined, but held still as Mark examined the wound. Through and through. Clean. Lucky. But the dog couldn't run much further on it. Mark tore a strip from his shirt and wrapped the leg tight. Rex licked his hand, tail wagging slightly despite the pain. "You're tough, just like Lucky." Speaking of Lucky, Mark checked the carrier. The puppy was curled tight, trembling, but alive. The bullet that hit the carrier had dented the side, but hadn't penetrated. 2 miracles in one night. Sirens wailed in the distance. Torres's units arriving. But the attackers would be gone by now. They always were. Mark's phone buzzed. Torres calling. "Daniels, units are at your apartment. Where are you?" "Woods behind the complex. Rex is hit. Leg wound. We need—" "Stay there. I'm coming to you." She hung up. Mark sat with his back against the log. Rex pressed against his good side. Lucky's carrier on his lap. His hand throbbed. His lungs burned. His mind wouldn't stop spinning. How had they found him so fast? His address wasn't public record. Canine officers' home locations were protected for exactly this reason. Someone had leaked it. Someone inside. The thought made him sick. 10 minutes later, Torres appeared with 2 officers and a police dog handler, who took one look at Rex and immediately started field treatment. "He'll be okay," the handler said. "Bullet went clean through, but he needs a vet. Tonight." "I'll take him to Dr. Chen at Collins," Mark said. Torres shook her head. "Collins isn't secure anymore. If they found your apartment, they might know about Collins too. We're moving Lucky to a classified location, military facility. You and Rex are going into protective custody." "Protective custody? For how long?" "Until we roll up this network, however long that takes." Mark looked at Rex, then at Lucky. Both dogs had nearly died tonight. Both because of him. Because Rex had found that suitcase. "This is my fault," Mark said quietly. Torres grabbed his shoulder. "This is not your fault. You and Rex did your jobs. This is on them. The criminals. The traffickers. The ones using puppies as lab rats and sending kill squads after cops. This is on them." But it didn't feel that way. They moved to a convoy of unmarked vehicles. Rex limped but refused to be carried. Lucky stayed in his carrier, big eyes watching everything. By the time they reached the new facility, a nondescript building 40 minutes outside the city, dawn was breaking. Dr. Chen was already there, waiting. She took Rex immediately, leaving Mark with Torres in a small, secure room. "We've got a problem," Torres said once they were alone. "Just one?" "Your home address. It's in a secure database. Only about 40 people have access. Law enforcement, airport security, select federal agents." Mark's stomach dropped. "You're saying someone in law enforcement gave them my address?" "I'm saying it's possible. We're investigating everyone with access. But until we know who leaked it, we can't trust anyone outside this room." "What about Emily, my daughter? If they found me—" "Already handled. Federal marshals picked her up an hour ago. She's in protective custody too. She's safe." Mark's knees felt weak. "Can I see her?" "Not yet. Different location, for security. But she knows you're okay. I spoke with her myself." That should have been comforting. It wasn't. Mark had spent 3 weeks trying to rebuild his relationship with his daughter. One text message, one small reconnection, and now she was in protective custody because of him, because of Rex, because of one gray suitcase. "When does this end?" Mark asked. "When we cut off the head of the snake." DEA identified the network's structure. It's run by a woman named Dr. Elena Volkov, Russian national, biochemist, worked for legitimate pharmaceutical companies for years before going dark. Now she's running the most sophisticated drug trafficking operation we've ever seen. And Lena Voss works for Volkov, high-level courier and enforcer. But she's not talking. Lawyered up the second we put her in holding. "What about the other animals, the 12 you rescued?" Torres's expression darkened. 9 survived. 3 didn't make it. The ones that lived are being treated at secure facilities across the country. But Daniels, here's what you need to understand. Based on the data we pulled from that transmitter, Project Hyra has been running for 18 months. Hundreds of test subjects. Dozens of airports. And Lucky? Lucky is the only animal we've ever recovered alive at the point of shipment. The words hit Mark like physical blows. Hundreds of animals. Dozens of airports. 18 months. "We've been investigating a huge drug trafficking network for 18 months, Torres continued. "And we didn't know it existed until Rex bit that suitcase. These people are ghosts.
They move through customs with experimental compounds that don't exist on any watch list. They use living creatures as containers so the drugs maintain perfect temperature and chemistry. And they've been doing it under our noses the entire time. So what's the plan? DEA is coordinating with Interpol, simultaneous raids across 7 countries. But they need 72 hours to get teams in position. Until then, you're the bait. Mock looked up sharply. What? They came after you once. They'll come again. They can't risk you testifying about what you found. And they definitely can't risk Rex. Your dog is evidence. He can identify scents, trace compounds, potentially track them to other shipments. You're both liabilities they need to eliminate. So you want to use us as bait to draw them out?
I want to protect you. But if they come again, we'll be ready. This facility is secure. Armed guards, cameras, electronic countermeasures. They won't get through. Mark wasn't so sure about that. The last facility was supposed to be secure too. Collins Air Base. 3 layers of fencing. Armed military police. They'd still gotten through. Where's Rex now? Mark asked. Dr. Chen's treating his leg. She says he'll be fine. Might have a limp for a few days, but no permanent damage. And Lucky? Also with Dr. Chen. She's monitoring his recovery. He's stable, but still critical. The next 48 hours will determine if he fully pulls through. Mark nodded slowly. 48 hours. 72 until the raids. He just had to keep everyone alive for 3 days. How hard could that be? The answer came 6 hours later. Mark was dozing in a chair when alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed. Torres burst into the room. They're here. Breach on the north perimeter. At least 8 hostiles. 8. There were 6 at my apartment. They brought reinforcements. Mark was on his feet, weapon drawn. Where's Rex? Where's Lucky? Medical wing. Dr. Chen's with him. We've got guards. Gunfire erupted. Close. Inside the building. They're already inside, Torres said. How the hell did they get inside? The answer came over the facility's security radio. This is not a breach. Repeat, this is not a breach. We have an inside man. Officer down in the west corridor. The radio cut to static. Torres's face went white. Inside man. Someone in this facility is working for them. Mark felt cold. Who else knows we're here? 40 people, maybe 50. Security staff, federal agents, select military personnel. Torres was already moving toward the door. We need to get to the medical wing. Now. They ran. Mark's burned hands screamed in protest. His legs felt like lead. Behind them, more gunfire, screaming, the sounds of combat. The medical wing was at the facility's center, most secure location. But if there was an inside man, they rounded a corner and nearly ran into Dr. Chen. She had Lucky's carrier in one hand, Rex's lead in the other. The shepherd was limping badly, but alert, teeth bared. They're coming from both directions, Dr. Chen said, voice tight with fear. We're trapped. Torres scanned the hallway. 2 directions. Both had armed attackers approaching. They could hear footsteps, orders being shouted in Russian. There, Mark pointed to an unmarked door. Where does that go? Maintenance tunnels, Dr. Chen said. They run under the entire facility. Can we get out through them? Maybe. I don't know. I've never been down there. Torres made the decision. Better than staying here. Move. They burst through the door and down a narrow staircase. The maintenance tunnels were exactly what Mark expected. Concrete walls, low ceilings, pipes running everywhere, dim emergency lighting, and a maze of passages heading in every direction. Which way? Torres asked. Dr. Chen looked around, lost. I don't know. Rex pulled forward on his lead,
favoring his injured leg, but determined. He sniffed the air, then headed down the left tunnel. "Follow the dog," Mark said. They ran through the tunnels, Rex leading, Lucky bouncing in his carrier, the sounds of pursuit growing behind them. The tunnels twisted, branched, doubled back. Without Rex, they would have been completely lost. But Rex knew. Somehow, the dog knew. They emerged 10 minutes later through a ground-level exit near the facility's perimeter fence. Night had fallen again. 24 hours since this nightmare had started. Torres was on her radio immediately. "This is Captain Torres. Facility is compromised. I repeat, compromised. We have an inside man. All personnel fall back to secondary positions. Do not trust anyone you don't personally know." Static. Then a voice Mark didn't recognize. "Captain, this is Agent Morrison, DEA. We've secured a perimeter outside the facility. What's your position?" Torres gave their coordinates. "We need immediate extraction. I have 2 canines and critical evidence." "Copy that. Helicopter en route. ETA 4 minutes." 4 minutes. Mark scanned the darkness around them. The facility was a quarter-mile away, lit up like a war zone. Gunfire still echoing, figures moving in the shadows. "They'll see the helicopter," Mark said. "They'll know where we are." "Can't be helped. We need to get you out." Rex suddenly tensed, growled, looked back toward the facility. Someone was coming. "Torres," Mark said quietly. She saw it too, a figure detaching from the facility's shadow, walking toward them, slowly, deliberately. No weapon visible, but that didn't mean anything. Torres raised her gun. "Stop right there! Identify yourself!" The figure kept coming, stepped into a pool of light from a security lamp. Lena Voss. Mark's blood froze. How? She was in maximum security holding. "Inside man," Torres said. "She had help." Lena stopped 20 feet away, smiled. "Captain Torres, Officer Daniels, Dr. Chen, and of course, the stars of our show, Rex and Lucky." "You're under arrest," Torres said. "Get on the ground, now." "Am I? Funny, I don't feel arrested. In fact, I feel quite free." Lena pulled something from her pocket. Small, black, remote control. "Do you know what this is?" Nobody answered. "It's a dead man's switch. If I let go, or if you shoot me, it triggers explosives placed throughout that facility. 40 pounds of C4, every load-bearing wall. The entire building comes down, and there are still 70 people inside." Torres's hand didn't waver. "You're bluffing." "Am I? Test me. Pull that trigger and find out." Mark's mind raced. She wasn't bluffing. He could see it in her eyes. She'd blow the building, kill 70 people, just to prove a point. "What do you want?" Mark asked. "Simple. The puppy. Lucky. Give him to me, and I walk away. The facility stands. Everyone lives. You get to be heroes. I get what I came for. The puppy's evidence. We're not giving him to you. Then those 70 people die. Their blood is on your hands, not mine." Lena checked her watch. "You have 30 seconds to decide. 29? 28? Torres looked at Mark. He looked at Dr. Chen. They all looked at the carrier where Lucky lay sleeping, recovering, fighting to survive. One small puppy. 70 human lives. 15 seconds, Lena said. "Don't do it," Dr. Chen whispered. "She'll kill him the second she has him. Everything he's survived, everything we've done to save him, it'll be for nothing." 10 seconds. Rex was growling. Low. Dangerous.
The sound Mark had heard at the airport. The sound that meant something was very, very wrong. 5. Mark looked at the carrier, at Lucky's small form, at the IV still attached to his leg, at the bandages wrapped around his tiny body. 4. He thought about 46 other animals who hadn't survived, who died alone, poisoned, used as lab rats for drugs that would kill thousands. 3. He thought about his daughter in protective custody, about Rex's bullet wound, about Dr. Chen's terrified face. 2. And he made a decision that would haunt him forever. Take him. Mark, no, Torres started. Take him, Mark said again. He unhooked Lucky's carrier from his belt, held it out toward Lena. Just don't hurt him, please. Lena's smile widened. She walked forward slowly, hand outstretched. Rex lunged. The shepherd's teeth caught Lena's wrist. She screamed, dropped the remote. Mark dove for it, caught it before it hit the ground. Torres fired. Once. Twice. Lena went down. The remote was in Mark's hand. He held it carefully, thumb on the button Lena had been pressing. The dead man's switch. Don't let go, Torres said. Whatever you do, don't let go. How do I disarm it? You don't. Not without the code. We need a bomb tech. Now. The helicopter appeared over the tree line, spotlight sweeping, descending toward them. Rex released Lena's wrist and backed away, limping. The woman was still alive, clutching her arm, blood everywhere. You stupid, she gasped. You don't understand. That puppy isn't just evidence. He's the key. The only surviving subject with complete data. Without him, we have to start over. 18 months of work. Gone. Good, Mark said. I hope it was worth it. Worth it? Lena laughed, wet, pained. You think this is over? Volkov has 12 facilities, hundreds of subjects. Lucky was just one test, one trial run. You saved one puppy. Congratulations. But there are hundreds more you'll never find. And in 6 months, Project Hyra launches. You can't stop it. No one can. The helicopter landed. 3 federal agents jumped out, weapons ready. Behind them, a bomb technician in full gear. Torres handed off command, explained about the dead man's switch. The bomb tech approached Mark carefully. I need you to stay very still, the tech said. Don't move that thumb, not even a millimeter. How long? To disarm? 10 minutes, maybe 15. Mark stood frozen while the tech worked. Rex pressed against his leg, offering support. Dr. Chen held Lucky's carrier. Torres secured Lena with zip ties and called for medics. And in the distance, the facility still blazed with activity. 70 people who didn't know they'd come within seconds of death. The bomb tech worked carefully, tracing wires, checking circuits, sweat on his forehead despite the cold night air. Okay, he said finally. I've got the sequence. On 3, you're going to release the button and I'm going to cut the wire. Has to be simultaneous. If we're off by even a second... Just tell me when, Mark said. 1. Mark's thumb was numb. He'd been holding it perfectly still for 12 minutes. 2. Rex whined softly. 3. Mark released the button. The tech cut the wire. Silence. No explosion. No alarms. Nothing. We're clear, the tech said. It's disarmed. Mark's legs gave out. He sat down hard on the cold ground. Rex immediately climbed into his lap, all 65 pounds of him, and licked his face. Good boy, Mark whispered. Good boy. You saved us again. Torres helped him up. Come on, Let's get out of here before something else goes wrong. They loaded into the helicopter. Mark, Rex, Lucky, Dr. Chen, Torres, and 2 federal agents. Lena was taken to a different aircraft under heavy guard. As they lifted off, Mark looked down at the facility, at the chaos below, at the smoking ruins of what was supposed to be a secure location. How many more times would they run? How many more attacks? "Where are we going?" he asked Torres over the helicopter's roar. "Somewhere they'll never find you. I promise." But Mark wasn't sure anywhere was safe anymore. Not when the enemy was inside their own ranks. Not when Project Hyra had facilities they didn't know about, subjects they couldn't find, a timeline they couldn't stop. Not when one woman, Elena Volkov, had built an empire so vast, so invisible, that even catching her would barely slow it down. Rex seemed to sense his thoughts. The dog leaned against him, warm and solid and real. They'd survived another night. That was something. That was everything. Below them, the facility lights faded into darkness. Ahead, more unknown. More danger. More running. But also more hope. Because Lucky was still alive. Still fighting. And as long as he kept fighting, they couldn't give up. Not yet. Not ever. The helicopter touched down at a private airstrip 2 hours later. No signs, no markings. Just empty tarmac and a single hangar with lights blazing inside. Mark climbed out carrying Lucky's carrier, Rex limping beside him. "Doctor?" Chen followed, exhausted. Torres was already on her phone, barking orders at someone. "This is it?" Mark asked. "Safe house, off the books, not even in the system. Only 5 people know this location exists." "That's what you said about the last 2 places." Torres didn't have an answer for that. Inside the hangar, a woman waited. Mid-40s, severe expression, FBI windbreaker. She approached Torres and spoke quietly. Mark couldn't hear the conversation, but he saw Torres's face go pale. "What?" Mark asked when Torres returned. "What now?" "That was Special Agent Reeves. She's heading the internal investigation. They've identified the leak." "Who?" Torres hesitated. "Deputy Director Carson. Airport Security. He's been on Volkov's payroll for 11 months. Mark felt like he'd been punched. Carson was Torres's direct superior. He'd signed off on every security protocol at the airport. He'd had access to everything. 11 months, Mark said. "How many shipments got through because of him?" "We don't know yet, but Reeves says they've arrested him. He's talking, giving up names, locations, bank accounts. It's bad, Mark. Really bad." "How bad?" "Project Hyra isn't just trafficking. It's bigger. Carson says Volkov's been selling experimental compounds to terrorist organizations, rogue states, anyone with enough money. Some of the drugs can incapacitate entire buildings. Others cause heart attacks that look completely natural. She's been building a biological weapons arsenal disguised as a drug operation." The words hung in the air like poison. "And Lucky?" Mark asked quietly. "What was he carrying?" Torres looked at Dr. Chen. The veterinarian's hands were shaking. "Tell him," Torres said. Dr. Chen took a breath. "We finished analyzing the compounds in Lucky's case. They're not just synthetic cannabinoids. They're neurological agents, designed to cross the blood-brain barrier instantly. One dose, just one, can cause permanent brain damage, memory loss, cognitive impairment, complete personality change. Why would anyone want that?" "Interrogation," Agent Reeves said, stepping forward. "Or assassination that looks like natural dementia. Or creating sleeper agents who don't remember their real identities. The applications are endless and terrifying." Mark looked down at Lucky's carrier. The puppy was awake now, watching him with those big eyes. This tiny creature had been carrying a weapon that could destroy minds.
How close were they to completion? Mark asked. Very close, Reeves said. Carson claims they were 2 weeks away from final trials, human trials. They'd already selected subjects, prisoners in black site facilities, people who'd never be missed. Rex growled suddenly, low and urgent. Everyone turned. What is it, boy? Mark asked. Rex was staring at the hangar entrance, hackles raised. The same look he'd had at the airport, at Mark's apartment, at the last facility. Something was wrong. Security, report, Torres said into her radio. Static. Security, respond. Nothing. Reeves drew her weapon. Everyone back, now. They moved toward the rear of the hangar. Mark grabbed Lucky's carrier. Dr. Chen stayed close to Rex. The hangar lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, dim red bulbs that created more shadows than illumination. They found us again, Mark said. How? How do they keep finding us? Then he realized. He looked at Lucky's carrier, at the IV still attached to the puppy's leg, at the monitoring equipment Dr. Chen had been using to track his vitals. The medical equipment, Mark said. It's still transmitting. That's how they're tracking us. Dr. Chen's eyes went wide. Oh God, the portable monitors. I never thought. They must have hacked the signal. Turn it off, Torres said. All of it. Now. Dr. Chen started disconnecting equipment, but it was too late. The hangar door exploded inward, not with a blast, with a vehicle. An armored truck smashed through the metal door, screeching to a halt inside the hangar. Doors flew open. Armed figures poured out. 8 of them. No, 10. More than Mark had ever seen in one place. Behind the plane, Reeves shouted. They dove behind a small private jet parked in the center of the hangar. Gunfire erupted immediately. Bullets pinged off metal. Glass shattered. Mark returned fire, but he was outgunned. They all were. 3 FBI agents, 1 captain, and 1 K-9 officer against 10 professional soldiers. The math wasn't good. We need backup, Torres said into her radio. Backup to... A bullet hit her radio, destroying it. She swore and drew her backup weapon. Basement, Dr. Chen pointed to a door in the hangar floor. There's a basement access. I saw it when we came in. They ran for it, firing to provide cover. Rex limped alongside Mark, refusing to be carried. Bullets followed them. One hit the floor inches from Mark's foot. Another grazed his shoulder, just fabric, but too close. They reached the door. Reeves shot the lock off. They tumbled down concrete stairs into darkness. Mark slammed the door shut behind them. No lock on this side. Nothing to barricade with. Keep moving, Reeves said. There's got to be another exit. They ran through the basement. Empty concrete space, support pillars, old equipment covered in dust. Rex led them through the maze, following some instinct Mark had long since learned to trust. Behind them, the door burst open. Footsteps on the stairs. Flashlight beams cutting through the darkness. There! More gunfire. A bullet hit a support pillar next to Mark's head, showering him with concrete fragments. They turned a corner and found themselves trapped. Dead end. Solid concrete wall. No, 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 Torres said. This can't be... Rex barked, sharp, insistent. He was pawing at the floor in the corner. Mark looked closer. A drainage grate, large enough for a person to fit through. Maybe. That's a sewer access, Reeves said. Leads to the city storm drain system. We'll be sitting ducks down there, Torres said. We're sitting ducks here. Mark didn't hesitate. He pried up the grate. The smell that hit him was overwhelming. Waste, chemicals, decay. But it was a way out. Go, he said to Dr. Chen. Take Lucky. I'll pass him down to you. Dr. Chen climbed through. Mark carefully lowered Lucky's carrier to her. The puppy whimpered, but stayed quiet. Torres went next, then Reeves. Rex followed, dropping into the darkness with a pained yelp when he landed on his injured leg. Mark started to follow. A hand grabbed his ankle. He kicked back hard, felt his boot connect with something soft. A grunt. The hand released. Mark dropped through the grate and Reeves slammed it shut above them. They were in a concrete tunnel, maybe 4 feet in diameter. Water flowed ankle deep, carrying things Mark didn't want to identify. The smell was unbearable. "Which way?" Torres asked. Rex was already moving. Downstream, away from the hangar. They followed the dog through the maze of tunnels. Water got deeper, then shallower. The tunnels branched and twisted. Without Rex, they would have been lost within minutes. Above them, they could hear vehicles, sirens, shouting. The attack had drawn police response. Maybe that would slow the attackers down, but Mark doubted it. They walked for what felt like hours, but was probably 30 minutes. Finally, Rex stopped at a ladder leading up to another grate. Weak light filtered through from above. Reeves climbed up first, checked the area, then pushed the grate open. "Clear, street level. Looks like we're in the industrial district." They emerged one by one into an alley behind a warehouse. Dawn was breaking. Mark's second sunrise in this nightmare. They were soaked, filthy, exhausted. Rex could barely put weight on his injured leg. Lucky was shaking despite the blankets wrapped around him. Dr. Chen looked like she was about to collapse. "We need to regroup," Torres said. "Find somewhere safe to—" "There is nowhere safe," Mark interrupted. "Don't you see? They found us at my apartment, at the military facility, at the airstrip. They'll find us anywhere we go." "Then what do you suggest?" Torres asked. Mark looked at Rex, at Lucky, at the 3 women who'd risked everything to protect them. And he made a decision. "We stop running," Mark said. "We take the fight to them." "Are you insane?" Reeves said. "We're unarmed, outnumbered, and they're expecting us to run, to hide, to wait for backup that might never come." Mark turned to Torres. "You said DEA is coordinating raids in 72 hours. But Lena said Volkov has 12 facilities. Even if the raids succeed, we'll only hit a fraction of the operation. She'll rebuild, start over, and more animals will die. More people will die." "What are you proposing?" Torres asked, carefully. "Carson's talking, right? Giving up information. He knows where Volkov is, where the main facility is. If we can get to her before she realizes the entire operation is compromised—" "That's suicide," Dr. Chen said. "We can't—" "We have something she wants," Mark continued. "Lucky. He's the only surviving subject with complete data from the trials. Lena said it herself. Without him, they have to start over. 18 months of work, gone." "You want to use Lucky as bait," Reeves said slowly. "I want to end this, before anyone else gets hurt." They were all silent. Mark could see them thinking, calculating, weighing the insanity of what he was suggesting against the reality of their situation. "I'll make some calls," Torres finally said. "See what Carson knows, where Volkov might be. But Mark, even if we find her, we can't go in alone. We'd need a team, resources, time to plan." "We don't have time. Every hour we wait, she moves, goes deeper underground. By the time DEA coordinates their raids, she'll be gone." Torres pulled out her phone, her personal phone, not the government-issued one that had been compromised. She stepped away to make the call. Mark sat down against the warehouse wall, Rex collapsing beside him. Dr. Chen checked Lucky's vitals. "He's stable," she said quietly. "Still critical, but stable. Mark, I know what you're trying to do, but using him as bait is the only way to make his suffering mean something. 46 other animals didn't survive. Lucky did.
If we don't stop Volkov now, there will be hundreds more. Thousands. Dr. Chen didn't argue. She knew he was right. Reeves was pacing, phone to her ear, coordinating with her FBI team, getting updates on the attack at the airstrip, casualty counts, arrest reports. Torres returned 10 minutes later. Her face was grim. Carson gave us a location. Volkov's main lab. It's in Vermont. Remote. Private land. Heavily guarded.
How heavily? Private security force, 20 men minimum, plus whatever scientists and technicians are on site. Maybe 50 people total.
50 against 4, Mark said. Better odds than we've had so far. Mark, this isn't a joke. I'm not joking. I'm done running. Rex is done running. That puppy has been through hell, and for what? So we can hide in sewers while Volkov rebuilds her operation somewhere else? Torres studied his face. You're serious about this? Completely. She looked at Reeves. Your call. You're the federal agent here. Reeves was quiet for a long moment. If I authorize this, and it goes wrong, my career is over. If we don't stop Volkov, Mark said, a lot more than careers will be over. Reeves made her decision. Okay, but we do this smart. No cowboy stuff. We get backup, surveillance, a tactical plan. Agreed? Agreed. And Lucky stays here, with Dr. Chen, in protective custody. We don't actually use him as bait.
We just make Volkov think we're bringing him. Mark nodded slowly. That was smarter, safer for Lucky. But it also meant they'd be walking into a trap with nothing to trade. Reeves made another call, spoke quickly, quietly. When she hung up, she looked different, harder, more focused. I've got a tactical team willing to help. Off the books. 5 operators. Good people. They can meet us in Vermont in 6 hours. 6 hours, Torres said. That gives Volkov time to move. It also gives us time to plan, to prep, to not die the second we walk through the door. She had a point. They found a safe house, a real one this time, owned by one of Reeves's FBI contacts who'd retired years ago and didn't exist in any database. It was small, isolated, and most importantly, unknown. Dr. Chen stayed with Lucky, monitoring his recovery. The puppy was getting stronger. His eyes were brighter, his breathing easier. Against all odds, he was surviving. Mark, Rex, Torres, and Reeves spent the next 6 hours planning. They had blueprints of Volkov's facility, outdated but better than nothing. They had satellite imagery showing security positions. They had Carson's intelligence on guard rotations, security systems, lab layouts. And they had a plan that was either brilliant or insane. Probably insane. The tactical team arrived exactly on time. 5 operators, all former military, all with experience in covert operations. Their leader was a man named Jackson. Late 30s, calm eyes, economy of movement that suggested serious training. Reeves briefed us, Jackson said. You want to infiltrate a private research facility, apprehend a bioweapons developer, and somehow survive long enough to extract with evidence. That about right? That's right, Mark said. And you're bringing a dog with a bullet wound. Rex goes where I go. Jackson looked at the shepherd. Rex stared back, unflinching. Okay then, let's talk tactics. They spent another hour going over the plan. Approach, entry points, communications, contingencies. Jackson's team would create a distraction at the main gate, while Mark, Torres, and Reeves entered through a maintenance access in the back. Rex would help them track Volkov once they were inside. The dog could identify her scent from chemical compounds they'd recovered from the original suitcase. It was a long shot, a really long shot. but it was the only shot they had. They left for Vermont at sunset. 2 vehicles, Jackson's team in one, Mark, Rex, Torres, and Reeves in the other. Dr. Chen stayed behind with Lucky, armed guards outside, every security measure they could think of in place. "Be careful," Dr. Chen said as they left. "That puppy didn't survive all this just to lose you now." "We'll come back," Mark promised. "All of us." He hoped he wasn't lying. The drive to Vermont took 4 hours. They arrived at midnight.
Volkov's facility was exactly where Carson said it would be. A compound in the mountains, miles from the nearest town. Fencing, guard towers, lights. It looked more like a military base than a research lab. "How do we even get close to that?" Torres whispered. They were observing from a ridge half a mile away. "We don't," Jackson said. "Not yet. Give us 30 minutes to get in position. When you hear the fireworks, you move, and you move fast." His team disappeared into the darkness like ghosts. Mark, Torres, and Reeves waited. Rex lay quietly beside Mark, conserving energy. The dog knew something was coming, some big confrontation. He was ready. Mark wasn't sure he was. 29 minutes later, an explosion rocked the front gate. Then another, and another. Gunfire erupted. Alarms blared. Guards ran toward the main entrance, toward the attack they could see. Away from the 3 people and 1 dog, slipping through shadows toward the back fence. "Now," Reeves whispered. They ran, reached the fence. Reeves pulled out wire cutters and went to work. 30 seconds. 40. The fence gave way. They slipped through. Inside the compound now. No turning back. They moved quickly toward the maintenance building Carson had described. Door was locked, but Torres shot it off. They entered a tunnel, concrete, dimly lit, leading under the main facility. Rex took point, nose working. He knew Volkov's scent. Chemical signatures from the drugs. Pheromones from stress and fear. The dog was a biological tracking system more sophisticated than any technology. The tunnel opened into a basement. Lab equipment, storage. Stairs leading up. They climbed. First floor, hallway, empty. Everyone had responded to Jackson's distraction. Second floor, more labs, still empty. Third floor, Rex stopped, growled. "She's here," Mark whispered. They moved down the hallway. Rex led them to a door at the end, locked, heavy steel, keypad entry. Torres looked at Reeves. "Can you?" Reeves pulled out a small device. "Carson gave us the codes. Hold on." She entered a sequence. The lock clicked. The door opened. Inside was a woman, mid-50s, gray hair pulled back, lab coat. She was at a computer, frantically transferring files to an external drive. She looked up as they entered. Dr. Elena Volkov. Finally. "You're too late," she said calmly. "Everything's backed up, encrypted, hidden. You can destroy this facility, arrest everyone here, and it won't matter. Project Hyra will continue." "Not if you're in custody," Torres said. "You think I'm the only one? I have partners, investors, scientists in 6 countries. This is bigger than me, bigger than any of you can comprehend." Reeves moved to arrest her. Volkov hit a button on her desk. The lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, red again, like every nightmare they'd lived through in the past 2 days. "Backup power," Volkov said, "and security protocol. You've got about 2 minutes before this entire facility goes into lockdown. All exits sealed, all communications blocked. And my security team, the real security team, not the ones fighting at the gate, will be here in 90 seconds. "Then we'd better move fast," Mark said. He grabbed Volkov's arm. She tried to pull away, but Rex was there, teeth bared, one low growl that made her freeze. "Call them off," Mark said. "Your security team. Call them off or the dog attacks." "I'm not afraid of your dog." Rex snapped at her hand. Didn't bite, but came close enough that she felt his breath. "Okay, okay." Volkov reached for her radio. Torres grabbed it first. "Nice try. Move. Now." They hauled Volkov toward the door. Behind them, the computer was still transferring files. Evidence. Proof of everything she'd done. "Torres, grab that drive," Reeves said. Torres ran back, ejected the external drive, shoved it in her pocket. They moved into the hallway and found themselves facing 6 armed guards. For one frozen moment, nobody moved. Then everyone moved at once. Gunfire exploded in the confined space. Mark dove left, pulling Volkov with him. Torres dove right. Reeves returned fire. Rex launched himself at the nearest guard, 65 pounds of fury and teeth. Chaos. Mark fired twice. One guard went down. Another turned toward him. Torres shot that one. 3 left. No, 4. Where had the 4th come from? Rex had one guard on the ground, savaging his arm. The man was screaming. His weapon clattered away. 2 guards focused on Rex. "No!" Mark fired at them. Missed. Fired again. Hit one. The other turned his weapon toward the dog. Torres shot him from behind. The hallway went quiet. 6 guards down, some dead, some unconscious, all neutralized. "Everyone okay?" Torres asked. "Yeah," Reeves said, "but we need to move. Lockdown's coming." They ran for the stairs, dragging Volkov. She was struggling, screaming in Russian, trying to slow them down. Rex nipped at her heels, encouraging cooperation. First floor. They were halfway to the exit when steel doors started descending from the ceiling. "Run!" They sprinted. Mark was in front. He dove under the first door as it dropped, rolled, came up running. Torres threw Volkov under next, then followed. Reeves slid through just as the door slammed shut. But Rex was on the other side. "Rex!" Mark screamed. The dog was trapped between 2 doors, barking, scratching. "No, no, no!" Mark tried to lift the door. It was too heavy. Solid steel. No way to open it without the security system. "Mark, we have to go," Torres said. "The whole facility's locked down. If we don't get out now, I'm not leaving him. He's a dog, Mark. We have Volkov. We have the evidence. We can come back. He's not just a dog. He's my partner." Mark looked through the small window in the door. Rex was on the other side, still barking, still trying to reach him. And behind Rex, more guards were coming. 6, 8, 10. They were going to kill him. Mark made a decision he knew he'd regret. He shot the window. Glass shattered. He reached through, grabbed Rex's collar, and pulled. The dog yelped as broken glass cut him, but scrambled through the opening. His injured leg gave out and he fell, but Mark caught him. Blood. There was blood on Rex's side from the glass, on his leg from the bullet wound that had reopened. But he was alive. "Come on, boy. Come on." They ran, out of the building, into the compound. Alarms everywhere, guards everywhere. Jackson's team was still engaged at the front gate, but the distraction was collapsing. "Reeves, call for extraction," Torres ordered. "Tell them we're coming out hot." Reeves was already on her radio. "This is Agent Reeves. We have the package. Repeat, we have the package. Need immediate extraction at Rally Point Beta. Multiple hostiles. Heavy fire. We're coming to you." They fought their way through the compound. Mark had lost count of how many rounds he'd fired. His magazine was nearly empty. Torres was down to her backup weapon. Reeves was out entirely, using a guard's rifle she'd picked up. Volkov kept trying to escape, kept trying to slow them down. Rex kept her in line with growls and snaps. They reached the fence where they'd entered, cut through, kept running. Behind them, the entire security force was mobilizing. Lights, vehicles, helicopters. "Extraction's 2 minutes out," Reeves shouted. "We need to get to the ridge." 2 minutes. Might as well be 2 hours. The ridge was a quarter-mile away, uphill, through woods, with injured dog, hostile prisoner, and no ammunition. But they didn't have a choice. They ran. Bullets chewed up trees around them. Someone, Torres maybe, was hit. She stumbled, but kept moving. Blood on her leg, but not arterial. She'd live if they could get out. The ridge, almost there. Mark could see Jackson's team laying down covering fire. Behind them, helicopters were lifting off. They weren't going to make it. Then Mark heard the most beautiful sound in the world. Thunder. Not weather. Artillery. Heavy weapons. Coming from beyond the ridge. "That's the cavalry," Reeves said. "FBI brought the full tactical unit. Volkov's facility is surrounded." The helicopters banked away. Guards stopped pursuing. The entire compound was suddenly aware they were surrounded by federal agents. Mark, Torres, Reeves, Volkov, and Rex crested the ridge. Below them, 50 FBI vehicles, armored transports, SWAT teams, and at the center, Agent Morrison from DEA, with the biggest smile Mark had ever seen. "Officer Daniels," Morrison called up. "Nice work. We'll take it from here." They stumbled down the ridge. Medics rushed forward. Someone took Volkov into custody. Multiple agents, not taking any chances. Someone else started treating Torres's leg. Doctor. Chen was there. She'd come with the FBI unit. She ran to Rex immediately. "He needs surgery," she said after a quick examination. "The bullet wound reopened, plus multiple lacerations from glass. But he'll live. He's tough." "Yeah," Mark said. "He is." Mark sat down hard on the ground. Rex collapsed beside him, head in his lap. The dog was panting hard, bleeding, exhausted, but alive. They'd done it. Against every odd, every obstacle, every attempt to stop them, they'd won. Mark watched them load Volkov into the armored transport. She wasn't struggling anymore, wasn't smiling, just staring at him through the window with cold, empty eyes that promised this wasn't over. He turned away. Rex needed him more than revenge did. Dr. Chen was already setting up a mobile surgical station in one of the FBI medical vans. She worked quickly, efficiently, her hands steady despite everything they'd been through. "He's going under anesthesia now," she said, inserting an IV into Rex's front leg. "The surgery will take about 2 hours. You should rest." "I'll stay." "Mark, I'll stay." Dr. Chen nodded. She understood. After 11 years together, leaving Rex during surgery wasn't an option. Torres limped over, her leg bandaged but functional. "Morrison wants to debrief you, but I told him it can wait." "Thanks. You did good work tonight, really good. Volkov's going to spend the rest of her life in prison. The external drive you grabbed has everything. Research data, financial records, names of everyone involved in Project Hyra. We're talking hundreds of arrests across 7 countries. "And the animals?" Mark asked. "The ones still in the facilities?" Torres's expression softened. "Rescue teams are being deployed now. Every facility Volkov operated. We'll find them. All of them." "How many do you think survived?" She hesitated. "Honestly, maybe 20%. These people weren't trying to keep the animals alive. They were testing lethal doses, monitoring how long subjects could survive exposure. Most of the animals..." She stopped, swallowed hard. "Most of them were never meant to make it." Mark looked down at Rex, unconscious on the surgical table. At the dog who'd saved a puppy that was never supposed to survive. Who'd exposed a network that had killed hundreds of innocent creatures. "Lucky beat the odds," Mark said quietly. "Maybe the others can too." Maybe. But they both knew the truth. Lucky was extraordinary. Most animals weren't that strong, that resilient, that determined to live. Dr. Chen began the surgery. Mark watched through the van's window, unable to look away. Every incision, every stitch, every moment Rex's chest rose and fell under anesthesia. Torres stayed with him. So did Reeves. And Jackson, who'd brought his entire team back safely despite heavy fire. "Your dog's a fighter," Jackson said. "Most canines would have quit after the first bullet wound. Rex just kept going." "That's who he is," Mark said. "He doesn't quit. Never has." 2 hours became 3. Dr. Chen worked meticulously, repairing damaged tissue, removing glass fragments, treating the reopened bullet wound. Finally, she stepped back. "He's stable. The surgery went well. But Mark, he needs serious recovery time. At least 6 weeks before he can work again. Maybe longer." "He'll get it, whatever he needs." "And you need to understand, this injury might end his career. The leg damage is significant. He might not pass the physical requirements to remain an active canine." The words hit Mark harder than any bullet. Rex's entire identity was wrapped up in working, in serving, in protecting people. "We'll cross that bridge when we come to it," Mark said, but his voice was hollow. Dr. Chen moved to wake Rex from anesthesia. The dog's eyes flickered open slowly, unfocused and confused. Then he saw Mark, and his tail gave one weak wag. "Hey, partner," Mark whispered. "You did so good, so good." Rex tried to lift his head. Couldn't. The anesthesia was still too strong. But his eyes stayed locked on Mark's face. "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." Agent Morrison approached the van. "Officer Daniels, I hate to interrupt, but we have a situation." Mark's stomach dropped. "What kind of situation?" "It's about Lucky, the puppy. Dr. Chen left him at the safe house with armed guards, correct?" "Yes. Why?" Morrison's face was grim. "We just lost contact with that location. Guards aren't responding. Cameras went offline. We're sending a team now, but—" Mark was on his feet before Morrison finished. No, not Lucky. Not after everything—" "We don't know anything yet," Morrison said. "Could be equipment failure, communications glitch." But Mark knew better. They all knew better. Volkov had partners, investors, people who wanted Project Hyra to continue, and Lucky was the key to all of it. "I'm going," Mark said. "You can't. You're exhausted. Your dog's in recovery." "I don't care. Lucky survived because Rex wouldn't let go. I'm not abandoning him now." Torres stood. "I'm going with him." "So am I," Reeves said. Morrison looked at them. 3 people who should be in hospitals, not heading back into danger. But he also saw the determination in their eyes. "Fine, but you're taking Jackson's team with you. No arguments." Jackson was already gearing up. Already planned on it. They loaded into vehicles. Mark looked back at Dr. Chen and Rex one more time. "Keep him safe," Mark said. "You keep yourself safe. Rex needs you to come back." The drive to the safe house took 40 minutes. Mark spent every second imagining the worst. Lucky dead. The guards killed. Another facility gone. They arrived with weapons ready, expecting a firefight. Instead, they found silence. The safe house was dark. No movement, no sound. The front door was open, swinging slightly in the wind. "Spread out," Jackson ordered his team. "Weapons hot. Assume hostiles inside." They moved through the door in tactical formation. Living room, empty. Kitchen, empty. Hallway, blood on the floor. Mark's heart stopped. Lucky. Hold, Jackson said. That's too much blood for a small dog. That's human blood. They followed the trail to the back bedroom. Found the guards. Both dead. Professional hits. Silenced weapons, probably. Nobody had heard the attack. But Lucky's carrier was gone. They took him, Mark said. His voice was shaking. They took him. Torres was already checking the bodies for clues. Reeves was on her phone, coordinating with FBI forensics. Jackson was reviewing the camera footage before it went offline. Got something, Jackson said. 2 attackers, female and male, both masked. They knew exactly where Lucky was. No searching, no hesitation. This was planned. Can you trace where they went? Negative.
They disabled the exterior cameras first. Could be anywhere by now. Mark wanted to scream, wanted to hit something. They'd been so close to ending this. Volkov was in custody. The facilities were being raided. The network was collapsing. But Lucky, the one animal who'd survived everything, who'd beaten impossible odds, was gone. We'll find him, Torres said. Mark, we'll find him. How? They could be in another state by now, another country. They could... Mark couldn't finish. Couldn't say out loud what they might do to Lucky. His phone rang. Unknown number. Mark answered. Hello? A woman's voice. Calm, professional, familiar. Officer Daniels, I believe you have something of mine, and I have something of yours. Mark's blood turned to ice. Who is this? You know who this is. He did. That voice. He'd heard it once before, in the background of a recorded conversation Morrison had played during the briefing. Dr. Elena Volkov's business partner, her second in command. Dr. Katrina Volkov, Mark said. Elena's sister. Very good. Now listen carefully. You have my sister in custody. You have our research data. You've destroyed 3 of our facilities. Impressive work, but ultimately futile. Where's Lucky? The puppy? He's safe. For now. Whether he stays that way depends entirely on you. What do you want? A trade. Elena for the puppy. And the external drive with our research data. You have 24 hours to arrange it. If you refuse, or if you try to trick me, the puppy dies. And then we start killing the other animals your teams are rescuing. 1 every hour until you comply. You're bluffing. Your facilities are surrounded. Your people are being arrested. Not all of them. I have operatives at 3 of the rescue locations. They're standing by, waiting for my order. Test me, Officer Daniels. See what happens. Mark looked at Torres, at Reeves, at Jackson. They were all listening. I need proof of life, Mark said. I need to know Lucky's alive. Of course. The phone shifted. Mark heard sounds, movement, then a small whimper that made his chest tight. Lucky, scared but alive. Satisfied? Katrina's voice returned. 24 hours. I'll send coordinates for the exchange. Come alone. Any sign of law enforcement, any tracking devices, any tricks, and the puppy becomes a lab rat again. Only this time, there won't be a rescue. She hung up. Mark lowered the phone slowly. She wants a trade. Elena and the research data for Lucky. That's not happening. Morrison's voice came through Torres's radio. He'd been listening. We can't release a criminal to save 1 animal. I'm sorry, but... Then she kills Lucky, Mark said. And then she starts killing the other rescued animals. 1 per hour. She has people at 3 of the rescue facilities. Silence on the radio. That's not possible, Morrison said. We have those locations secured. Do you? Can you guarantee every person at every facility is who they say they are? Volkov's network spent 18 months operating under our noses. You think they don't have people embedded in rescue operations? More silence, because Morrison knew Mark was right. I need to make some calls, Morrison finally said. Figure out our options. We don't have options, Mark said. We have 24 hours. He hung up before Morrison could argue. Torres was staring at him. Mark, what are you thinking? I'm thinking Lucky didn't survive everything he went through just to die because we couldn't make a hard choice. You can't seriously be considering this trade. Why not? We get Lucky back. We save the other rescued animals. Katrina gets her sister, who's going to spend life in prison anyway, and research data we've already copied and backed up multiple times. And Katrina gets to rebuild Project Hyra, Reeves said. Everything we fought for, everything we risked. It'll be for nothing. Not nothing. We saved 12 animals. We exposed the network. We shut down multiple facilities. That's not nothing. But it's not enough, Jackson said quietly. You know it's not enough. Mark did know, but he also knew that Lucky's terrified whimper had nearly broken him. That puppy had suffered enough, endured enough. He deserved to survive. There has to be another way, Torres said. A way to get Lucky back and keep Volkov in custody. Like what? Storm whatever location Katrina's hiding in? She'll kill Lucky the second we show up. Refuse the trade? She kills Lucky and starts murdering the other animals. There is no other way. They were all silent, because Mark was right, and they knew it. Reeves spoke first. What if we give her a fake trade? Make her think she's getting Elena and the data, but actually... She's not an idiot, Mark interrupted. She'll have verification protocols, DNA tests, data integrity checks. We can't fake this. Then what? Torres asked. We just hand everything over and hope she keeps her word? No, Mark said slowly. An idea was forming. Dangerous, probably impossible, but maybe the only chance they had. We give her exactly what she wants. Elena, the data, everything. But we make sure she can't use any of it. How? Elena's in federal custody now, under constant surveillance. Every conversation recorded, every movement tracked. If we release her to Katrina, we're essentially planting a tracking device that can't be removed or detected. Jackson was nodding. And the research data, we can corrupt it, introduce errors into the code, make it look legitimate but actually useless. By the time they realize, we'll have tracked them to their new location. And then we hit them with everything we've got, Torres finished. Federal raids, international cooperation. End this, for real. Reeves was already on her phone. I'll coordinate with Morrison. But Mark, this only works if Katrina actually takes the bait. If she suspects anything, she won't. Because I'm going to deliver Elena myself. Alone. Just like she asked. That's suicide, Torres said. That's the only way she'll believe it's real. If I show up with backup, she'll know it's a trap. But if I come alone, wounded, desperate to save Lucky, that she'll believe. Because it was true. Mark was desperate. He would do anything to save that puppy. And Katrina would see that, would recognize it, would use it against him. I don't like this plan, Jackson said. Too many variables, too much risk. You have a better one? Nobody did. Morrison called back 20 minutes later. The higher-ups approved it, barely. But Daniels, understand this. You're walking into a hostage situation with no backup, no wire, no weapons. If something goes wrong, we might not be able to save you. I understand. And if Katrina realizes Elena's a tracking device, she'll kill you both. And probably Lucky, too.
I understand that too, Morrison sighed. You're either very brave or very stupid. Probably both. The next 24 hours were the longest of Mark's life. They spent the time preparing. Elena was briefed on the plan. She'd be wearing a subdermal tracker, injected during a routine medical exam. The research data was corrupted with subtle errors that would take weeks to discover. And Mark went over the exchange protocol 100 times. He also visited Rex. The shepherd was awake now, groggy but alert. His tail wagged weakly when Mark entered the medical van. "Hey, partner," Mark said, kneeling beside the recovery crate. "How you feeling?" Rex licked his hand, tried to stand. Couldn't. "Easy. You need to rest. Let that leg heal." Dr. Chen had said Rex might never work again, that the injury was too severe for full recovery. The thought made Mark's chest ache, but he pushed it aside. One crisis at a time. "I have to go do something," Mark told Rex. "Something dangerous. But I'll come back. I promise." Rex whined softly, like he understood, like he knew Mark was lying. Because they both knew some promises couldn't be kept. The coordinates Katrina sent were for an abandoned factory 2 hours outside the city. Remote. No witnesses. Perfect for an ambush. Mark drove there alone, Elena in the passenger seat, hands zip-tied, federal tracking device invisible under her skin. "You're making a mistake," Elena said. It was the first time she'd spoken during the drive. Saving an innocent animal is never a mistake. "That animal isn't innocent. He's evidence. Proof of concept. My sister will dissect him to extract every piece of data embedded in his tissue. All the suffering you think you're ending, you're just postponing it." "Shut up." Elena smiled. "You're going to die tonight, Officer Daniels." "And that dog, Rex, is it? He'll spend the rest of his life wondering why you never came back." Was the puppy worth it? Was he worth abandoning your real partner? Mark's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "I said shut up." They drove in silence the rest of the way. The factory was exactly what Mark expected. Crumbling concrete, broken windows, shadows everywhere. He pulled up to the main entrance and waited. Katrina emerged from the darkness. She looked like Elena, same age, same cold eyes, but harder somehow, more dangerous. Behind her, 2 armed guards, and between them, Lucky's carrier. Mark's heart jumped. The puppy was visible through the carrier's window, alive, alert. "You came," Katrina said. "I'm impressed. Most people would have sent a tactical team." "Most people don't have Lucky's survival on their conscience." "How noble. Now, the data drive. Show me." Mark held up the external drive. Elena first, and the puppy. That was the deal. "Of course." Katrina gestured. One guard brought Lucky's carrier forward, setting it on the ground halfway between them. Mark walked Elena forward, met the guard at the halfway point. They exchanged. Mark took Lucky's carrier. The guard took Elena. "The data," Katrina said again. Mark tossed the drive to her. She caught it, examined it briefly, then nodded. "Pleasure doing business with you, Officer Daniels. You're free to go." It was too easy. Mark knew it was too easy. He picked up Lucky's carrier and started backing toward his vehicle. "One more thing," Katrina called. Mark turned. She was holding a gun, pointed directly at him. "You didn't really think I'd let you leave, did you? You're a loose end. A witness. A man who's caused me considerable trouble." "You got what you wanted," Mark said. "Elena, the data, let me go." "I'm afraid I can't do that. But don't worry, your death will be quick. More mercy than you showed my operation." She raised the gun. Lights exploded from every direction. Vehicles roared out of hiding. Helicopters appeared overhead.
Dozens of federal agents swarmed the factory. FBI! Drop your weapon! Katrina spun, firing at the nearest agent. Her guards opened fire too. Chaos erupted. Mark dove behind a concrete barrier. Lucky's carrier clutched to his chest. Bullets ricocheted everywhere. Glass shattered. Someone screamed. Morrison's voice boomed through a megaphone. "Katrina Volkov, you're surrounded! Surrender now!" But Katrina wasn't surrendering. She grabbed Elena and pressed the gun to her sister's head. "Everyone back! Back or I kill her!" The agents held position. Nobody wanted to risk a hostage situation. "She's bluffing," Elena said calmly. "She won't kill me. I'm too valuable." "Am I?" Katrina's voice was ice. "You failed, Elena. You let a dog and a small-town cop destroy 18 months of work. You're not valuable. You're a liability." She pulled the trigger. Elena dropped. For one frozen moment, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then everything exploded at once. Agents returned fire. Katrina ran for a vehicle. Her guards provided cover. Bullets flew in every direction. Mark stayed low, protecting Lucky. The puppy was whimpering, terrified. Mark curled around the carrier, using his body as a shield. Something hit him, high on the shoulder. Burning pain. He'd been shot. But he didn't let go of Lucky. Torres appeared beside him. "Mark, are you hit?" "Shoulder. I'm okay. Get Lucky out of here." "Not without you." She hauled him to his feet. They ran for the nearest FBI vehicle. Bullets chased them. One hit the carrier, the same spot as before, denting but not penetrating. They dove into the vehicle. Torres hit the gas. They screamed away from the factory just as more agents moved in. Behind them, the firefight continued. Helicopters circled. Someone was yelling coordinates. The entire operation was collapsing into violence. "Elena's dead," Mark said. His voice sounded distant. Shock was setting in. Katrina killed her own sister. "I know. We all saw." Torres was driving like a maniac, taking corners too fast, running through intersections. "We need to get you to a hospital." "Lucky first. Make sure he's okay." Torres glanced at the carrier. "Mark, you're bleeding. Lucky first." Torres made a hard right, heading for the nearest veterinary facility instead of the hospital. Mark's vision was getting blurry. The pain in his shoulder was spreading, getting worse. But Lucky was still alive, still whimpering, still fighting. That was all that mattered. They reached the vet, a 24-hour emergency clinic. Torres carried Lucky inside while Mark stumbled after her, clutching his bleeding shoulder. "I need help!" Torres shouted. "I have an injured puppy and an injured officer." Staff rushed forward. Someone took Lucky. Someone else tried to take Mark to an exam room. "No, I stay with the puppy." "Sir, you bleeding?" "I don't care. I stay with the puppy." They gave up arguing. Brought them both to the same room. Worked on Lucky while a nurse worked on Mark's shoulder. The bullet had gone clean through. Painful, but not life-threatening. Lucky's examination took longer. The vet was thorough, checking everything. Finally, she looked up. "He's okay. Stressed, mildly dehydrated, but okay. Whatever you did to protect him, it worked." Mark's legs gave out. He sat down hard on the floor. "Thank God. Thank God." Torres knelt beside him. "You did it, Mark. You saved him." "We saved him. All of us." Her radio crackled. Morrison's voice. "Torres, Katrina's in custody. I repeat, Katrina's in custody. 2 of her guards dead, 1 wounded. She tried to escape, but Jackson's team cut her off. It's over." Over. The word seemed impossible. After 3 days of running, fighting, nearly dying, it was over. "What about the other animals?" Mark asked. "The rescued ones. Did she?" "Her operatives at the rescue facilities were apprehended before they could act. All the animals are safe. Every single one. Mark closed his eyes, felt tears he'd been holding back for 3 days finally break free. They'd done it. Against every odd, every obstacle, every attempt to stop them. They'd won. And Lucky, the small, broken puppy who was never supposed to survive, was going to be okay. Mark woke in a hospital bed 3 days later. His shoulder was bandaged. His hand was bandaged. His entire body felt like it had been through a war, which, he supposed, it had. Torres was sitting in a chair beside him, reading a newspaper. She looked up when he stirred. "Welcome back," she said. "You gave us a scare. Lost a lot of blood." "Rex," Mark said immediately. "Where's Rex?" "2 floors down. Recovery wing. Dr. Chen's been with him the whole time." "He's doing well, Mark. Really well." "And Lucky?" Torres smiled. "Also 2 floors down. Same recovery wing. Dr. Chen insisted they be near each other. Says Rex gets agitated when Lucky's not close." Mark tried to sit up. Pain shot through his shoulder. "I need to see them." "Easy. Doctor says you need another day of rest, minimum. But..." Torres pulled out her phone and showed him a photo. It was Rex and Lucky. The shepherd was in a large recovery crate, lying on soft bedding. And curled up against his side, barely bigger than Rex's paw, was Lucky. Both dogs were sleeping. Both safe. Mark's throat tightened. "Thank you for everything." "You don't need to thank me. You're the one who risked everything. Multiple times." "We all did." Torres was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Morrison wants to give you a medal. Hero cop who brought down an international trafficking ring. Press is already calling you the officer who saved hundreds of lives." "I don't want a medal." "I know, but you're getting one anyway. You and Rex both. Ceremony scheduled for next month. National coverage, the whole thing." Mark groaned. "I hate ceremonies." "I know that too, but people need to hear this story. They need to know what happened, what these networks are doing, how they're using animals. If we don't tell this story, it'll happen again." She was right. Mark knew she was right. "What about the animals?" he asked. "The ones we rescued. How many survived?" Torres's expression darkened. 17 total. Out of what we estimate was close to 200 test subjects over 18 months. 17 survivors, Mark. That's all. The number was devastating. 200 animals tortured, poisoned, killed. All for drugs that would murder thousands more. Where are they now, the 17? Veterinary hospitals across the country, getting treatment. Most will recover physically, but the psychological trauma. Torres shook her head. These animals were abused in ways most people can't imagine. It's going to take time. A lot of time.
And then what? After they recover?
Adoption, for the ones healthy enough. Sanctuaries for the others. We're working with animal welfare organizations to make sure every single one gets a good home. Lucky's coming home with me, Mark said. It wasn't a question. I figured. Dr. Chen already started the paperwork. But Mark, you need to understand. Lucky's going to have special needs. The drugs in his system caused permanent damage. Neurological issues. He'll need medication for the rest of his life. Special diet. Regular vet visits. It's going to be expensive and time-consuming. I don't care. And Rex, his career might be over. The leg injury was severe. Even if he passes the physical requirements, there's no guarantee he'll be cleared for active duty again. Mark had been trying not to think about that. Rex's entire identity was wrapped up in being a canine officer, in working, in serving. If he can't work, we'll retire together, Mark said. He's earned it. Torres smiled.
Your daughter called. Emily. She's been here every day waiting for you to wake up. She just stepped out to get coffee. She has? Yeah. She's proud of you, Mark. She told me herself. Said she never understood what you did until she saw the news coverage. Saw what you were willing to risk to save one innocent life. Mark felt his eyes burning again. He'd been crying a lot lately. 3 days of trauma and fear and exhaustion catching up all at once. "Can I see them?" he asked. "Rex and Lucky. Please." Torres looked like she was going to say no. Then she sighed. "Against doctor's orders. But yeah, let me get a wheelchair." They wheeled Mark down to the recovery wing. Dr. Chen met them at the door. "You're supposed to be resting," she said. "I need to see them." Dr. Chen studied his face, saw the desperation there, nodded. 5 minutes, that's it." She led him to a private room. Rex was awake, lying in his crate. When he saw Mark, his tail started wagging so hard his whole back end moved. He tried to stand, yelped, fell back down. "Easy, boy, easy." Mark knelt beside the crate, ignoring the pain in his shoulder. Rex licked his face frantically, whining with joy. And there, pressed against Rex's side, was Lucky. The puppy looked so much better. His eyes were bright. His breathing was steady. He saw Mark and made a small yip. "Hey, little guy," Mark whispered. He reached carefully into the crate and stroked Lucky's head. The puppy leaned into the touch, tail wagging. Rex watched them both, with something that looked almost like pride. "He's been protecting Lucky since they put them together," Dr. Chen said quietly. "Won't let anyone near him except me and the nurses. Guards him like Lucky's his own puppy." "He saved Lucky's life," Mark said, "at the airport. When no one else knew something was wrong, Rex knew. He wouldn't let go until we found out why." "Dogs have instincts we'll never fully understand," Dr. Chen said. But Rex's instincts saved more than just Lucky. They exposed an entire criminal network, saved hundreds of future victims. Mark stayed with them for 20 minutes instead of 5. Nobody tried to stop him. Torres and Dr. Chen stood back, letting the reunion happen. Finally, Mark's strength gave out. They wheeled him back to his room. Emily was waiting, coffee in hand, tears on her face. "Dad," she said, and launched herself at him, careful of his bandages. "Hey, sweetheart, I'm okay." "You almost died. The news said you almost died." "But I didn't. I'm right here." She pulled back, looking at him with eyes that reminded him so much of her mother. "Why did you do it? Risk everything for a puppy you barely knew?" Mark thought about that. About the answer that would make sense to a 22-year-old who'd grown up thinking her father cared more about work than family. "Because someone had to," he said finally. "Because that puppy couldn't save himself. Because the people who hurt him were never going to stop unless someone stopped them. And because..." He paused. "Because I've spent too much of my life thinking the job was more important than the things that matter, than the people and animals who need protecting. Lucky needed me, and I wasn't going to let him down." Emily was crying openly now. "I'm sorry, Dad, for not understanding, for not answering your calls, for being angry about the divorce when you were out there doing this." "You don't need to apologize. I'm the one who's sorry. I should have been there more when you were growing up. Should have made you a priority instead of always choosing the job." "You chose right this time," Emily said. "You saved that puppy. You stopped those people. You're a hero." "I'm not a hero. Rex is the hero. He's the one who knew something was wrong, who wouldn't give up, who protected Lucky when everyone else thought he was crazy." "Then you're both heroes," Mark smiled. "I can live with that." Emily stayed for hours. They talked about everything: the divorce, her life, his work, the future.
It was the first real conversation they'd had in years. When she finally left, promising to come back tomorrow, Mark felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. The next few weeks were hard. Mark's shoulder healed slowly. Rex's leg healed even slower. Lucky gained weight, got stronger, but the neurological damage became more apparent. He had seizures sometimes, moments where he'd lose coordination, stumble, fall. His medication helped, but it wasn't perfect. Dr. Chen warned Mark again about the challenges ahead. Lucky's never going to be a normal dog. He'll need constant care, constant monitoring. Are you sure you're ready for that? I'm sure. And Rex might not be able to work again. The physical therapist says his leg is improving, but it might not be enough. If he's forced to retire, then we'll figure it out, together. 1 month after the factory shootout, Mark was released from the hospital. Rex was released the same day. So was Lucky. They went home together, to Mark's apartment, which suddenly felt too small for 2 dogs and a man who was still healing. But it didn't matter. They made it work. Rex and Lucky slept together every night. The shepherd had claimed Lucky as his responsibility, his puppy to protect. And Lucky had bonded to Rex in a way that went beyond normal dog behavior. They were pack. They were family. Mark was family too, but the connection between the 2 dogs was something special. The medal ceremony happened in early December. Mark stood on a stage in front of cameras and reporters and officials. Rex sitting proudly beside him in his dress uniform harness. Lucky was there too, in Mark's arms, because the puppy couldn't handle crowds without having Rex close. Captain Torres gave a speech. Agent Morrison gave a speech. Someone from the mayor's office gave a speech. They all talked about bravery and dedication and service. Then it was Mark's turn. He looked out at the crowd, at the cameras, at the reporters waiting to turn this into a story about heroism and justice. And he thought about the 200 animals who hadn't survived, about the 17 who had, scattered across the country, in recovery facilities and sanctuaries and adoption centers. About Lucky, who'd beaten impossible odds to be here. About Rex, who'd always known when something was wrong. I'm not good at speeches, Mark started, so I'll keep this simple. 3 weeks ago, Rex alerted on a suitcase at the airport, just doing his job. What we found inside changed everything. A puppy who was being used as a container for illegal drugs. A puppy who was dying, who was never supposed to survive. He looked down at Lucky in his arms. The puppy looked back with those big eyes. But Rex wouldn't give up, even when it got dangerous, even when people told him to let go. He knew that puppy needed help, and he wasn't going to stop until we provided it. That's what being a canine officer means. That's what serving and protecting means. Not just following orders or checking boxes, but trusting your instincts when they tell you something's wrong. Fighting for those who can't fight for themselves. Refusing to give up even when the odds are impossible. Mark paused, felt Rex lean against his leg, offering support like he always did. Rex is the real hero here, and Lucky is the reason we do this job. To protect the innocent, to stop the people who hurt them, to make sure that suffering doesn't go unnoticed. He looked directly at the cameras now. Project Hyra hurt hundreds of animals over 18 months. Test lethal drugs on innocent creatures. Use them as disposable lab rats. And they would have continued if Rex hadn't alerted on one gray suitcase. If we hadn't investigated. If we hadn't fought back. His voice got harder, stronger. So if you're watching this and you're involved in animal cruelty, in trafficking, in using living creatures as tools for profit, know this. There are thousands of officers like me,
Thousands of canines like Rex. And we're watching. We're investigating. And we will find you. Because animals like Lucky deserve better. They deserve protection. They deserve justice. He stopped. The crowd was silent. Then someone started clapping. Then someone else. Within seconds, the entire room was applauding. But Mark wasn't doing it for applause. He was doing it for the animals who couldn't speak for themselves. After the ceremony, Emily found him backstage. She hugged him carefully, mindful of his still healing shoulder. "That was perfect, Dad. Just perfect." "You think?" "I know. And Mom would have been proud, too." Mark hadn't expected that. His ex-wife had left because she couldn't handle being married to a cop who chose the job over everything else. But maybe she would have understood this fight, this choice. "Thanks, sweetheart." Dr. Chen appeared with Rex's leash. "Physical therapy results came back. I have news." Mark's heart stopped. "And?" "Rex passed. Barely, but he passed. His legs healed enough that he's been cleared for limited duty. Light work only. No high-stress situations. But he can work again if he wants to." Mark knelt beside Rex. "What do you think, partner? Want to go back to work?" Rex barked. Once. Sharp. Clear. That was a yes. But there was a problem. If Rex went back to work, Mark would need to find someone to watch Lucky during shifts. The puppy couldn't be alone. His medical needs were too complex. "I'll do it," Emily said. "I'm between jobs anyway. And my apartment allows dogs. Lucky can stay with me when you're working." "Emily, you don't have to." "I want to. Please, Dad, let me help. Let me be part of this." Mark looked at his daughter, at the determination in her eyes, at the connection she'd already formed with Lucky in the few hours they'd spent together. "Okay," he said. "Okay. Thank you." 3 months later, Mark and Rex returned to work at the airport. Limited hours, light duty, but back. The first day was surreal. Walking through Terminal 4 where it all started. Past Carousel 3 where Rex had bitten that suitcase. Past the spot where the bomb squad had worked. Where they'd found Lucky. "You remember this boy?" Mark asked. Rex's tail wagged. He remembered. They did their patrol, checked bags, greeted passengers, just routine work, normal work. But Mark noticed something. People recognized Rex, stopped to take photos, thanked him for his service. Kids wanted to pet him. Adults wanted to shake Mark's hand. Rex handled it like the professional he was, tail wagging, accepting pets politely, then getting back to work. At the end of their shift, Jenny Holbrook approached them, the security supervisor who'd asked Mark to sweep Carousel 3 that morning months ago. "How's it feel to be back?" she asked. "Good. Really good." "And Lucky? How's he doing?" "Better every day. Still has seizures, still needs medication. But he's happy. That's what matters." Jenny smiled. "You did a good thing, Mark. A really good thing." "Rex did it. I just didn't let go of his leash." "That's what partners do. They hold on, even when it's hard." That night, Mark picked Lucky up from Emily's apartment. The puppy went crazy when he saw Mark, jumping and spinning and making happy noises. "He missed you," Emily said. "Kept looking at the door all day." "Did he have any seizures?" "One, small one. I gave him his medication like Dr. Chen showed me. He was fine after." "Thank you for doing this."
"I know it's not easy. Dad, stop. I love having him here. He's good company. And besides," she smiled, "it's nice feeling like I'm part of something important, like I'm helping." Mark hugged his daughter. "You are helping, more than you know." He took Lucky home,
Rex was waiting at the door, tail wagging furiously when he saw the puppy. Lucky ran to him, and the two dogs touched noses, then curled up together on the floor. Mark sat down beside them. His shoulders still ached sometimes. His hands still had scars from the burns. Rex still limped slightly. Lucky still had seizures. But they were alive. They were together. They were home. Mark's phone buzzed. Text from Torres. "Saw you on the news tonight. Press is still eating up the story. You're officially famous." Mark texted back. "I don't want to be famous. I just want to do my job." "Too late. You're a symbol now of everything good about law enforcement, about protecting the vulnerable. Don't run from it. Use it."
Mark thought about that, about the platform he'd been given, about the story that had reached millions of people, about the 17 animals who'd survived and were slowly finding homes, about the hundreds who hadn't survived but wouldn't be forgotten, about the network that had been dismantled, the facilities that had been shut down, the criminals who were facing justice. All because Rex had refused to let go of one gray suitcase. Another text came through. This one from Morrison at DEA. Final count: 847 arrests across 12 countries. $2.3 billion in assets seized. 43 research facilities shut down. All traced back to Project Hyra. You and Rex started something big, Daniels. Really big. 847 arrests. That was 847 people who wouldn't be able to hurt animals anymore, who wouldn't be able to develop bioweapons disguised as drugs, who wouldn't be able to cause the suffering that Lucky and the others had endured. Mark looked down at Lucky and Rex, curled together, sleeping peacefully. One dog had trusted his instincts. One officer had trusted his dog. One puppy had survived against impossible odds. And together, they'd brought down an empire of cruelty. 6 months after that morning at the airport, Mark stood in Torres's office. She'd asked him to come in on his day off, said it was important. "I have a proposition," Torres said. "We're starting a new program, using canine units specifically trained to detect animal trafficking, to find hidden compartments in luggage, to identify the chemical signatures these networks use. We need someone to head the program, someone who understands how these operations work, someone who's been there." Mark stared at her. "You want me to head a program?" "You and Rex, training other officers, other dogs, making sure what happened with Lucky never happens again." "I don't know if I'm qualified." "You're the most qualified person I know. You lived it. You fought it. You won. Who better to teach others?" Mark thought about it, about spending his days training the next generation of canine officers, teaching them to trust their dogs, to follow their instincts, to fight for the animals who couldn't fight for themselves. "Can I think about it?" he asked. "Take your time. But Mark, this is important work. Work that matters. Work that will save lives." Mark went home and sat with Rex and Lucky, told them about the offer. "What do you think, partner? Should we do it?" Rex barked once. That was a yes. Lucky barked too, a small, high-pitched yip that made both Mark and Rex smile. "Okay then," Mark said. "Okay, we'll do it. Together." 1 year after Rex bit that suitcase, Mark stood in front of a new class of canine officers. 12 teams, 12 dogs and their handlers, ready to learn. "Welcome," Mark said. "Over the next 6 months, you're going to learn how to detect animal trafficking, how to identify smuggling operations, how to trust your dogs when they alert on something that doesn't make sense." He gestured to Rex, who sat proudly beside him in his harness, and Lucky, who was curled up in a small bed at Rex's feet. "This is Rex, and this is Lucky. Their story is why we're all here,
why this program exists. One morning, Rex alerted on a suitcase that looked completely ordinary. By the book, I should have pulled him away. The bomb squad should have blown it in place. But Rex wouldn't let go, and I trusted him. That trust exposed an international criminal network, shut down facilities in 12 countries, saved lives, both animal and human. Mark paused, looking at each team. Your dogs are going to alert on things you don't understand, things that seem wrong or impossible. Your job is to trust them anyway, to investigate, to fight for answers, because somewhere out there, another animal is suffering. Another criminal network is operating. And your team, you and your dog, might be the only thing standing between them and justice. The handlers were listening intently. The dogs were alert, sensing the importance of the moment. This work isn't easy, Mark continued. It's dangerous. It's exhausting. You'll see things that will haunt you. You'll face situations where giving up seems like the only option. But you can't give up. Because animals like Lucky are counting on you. They're counting on us. And we will not let them down. Rex barked his agreement. Lucky yipped, and the classroom erupted in applause. That night, Mark, Rex, and Lucky walked through the airport one more time. Past Carousel 3. Past the spot where everything had changed. Mark thought about that morning, about how close they'd come to missing it entirely. If Rex had been a few seconds later, if Mark had pulled him away, if they'd blown the suitcase in place without opening it, Lucky would have died. The network would have continued. Hundreds more animals would have suffered. But none of that happened, because one dog trusted his instincts, because one officer trusted his dog, because one tiny puppy refused to give up, refused to stop fighting, refused to let the cruelty win. Mark knelt down and scratched behind Rex's ears, then Lucky's. You two changed the world, he whispered. You know that? You changed everything. Rex wagged his tail. Lucky licked Mark's hand. And in that moment, Mark understood something profound. Heroes don't always wear capes or badges. Sometimes they wear collars. Sometimes they can't speak. Sometimes they're small and broken and barely surviving. But they're heroes nonetheless, because they refuse to give up. They refuse to stop fighting. They refuse to let the darkness win. Rex, Lucky, and Mark walked out of the airport together into the warm evening air. The sun was setting over the runway, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Behind them, hundreds of passengers moved through security, unaware of the story that had unfolded in these halls, unaware of the lives that had been saved, the network that had been destroyed, the difference one dog's instinct had made. But that was okay. The work had never been about recognition. It had been about protecting those who couldn't protect themselves, about stopping cruelty wherever it existed, about proving that compassion and courage could triumph over greed and violence. And they had proven it, every single day, with every shift worked, every alert investigated, every animal saved. The work would continue. New threats would emerge. New networks would form. But Mark knew they'd be ready. He and Rex and every canine team they trained would be there, standing guard, trusting their instincts, fighting for justice. Because that's what real heroes do. They show up. They serve. They protect. Not for glory or fame or recognition, but because someone has to. Because the vulnerable need defenders. Because loyalty, courage, and love are stronger than any weapon cruelty can wield. Mark looked at Rex, the shepherd who'd refused to let go. At Lucky, the puppy who'd refused to die. At the bond between them that had changed everything. And he knew with absolute certainty that this was exactly where he was meant to be.
This was the work that mattered. This was the fight worth fighting. Not for himself, but for them. For every animal who couldn't speak. For every victim who couldn't fight back. For every innocent life that deserved protection. Rex leaned against his leg. Lucky yipped happily from his carrier. And Mark smiled, feeling something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. Purpose. Hope. The silence that had fallen over the airport that morning when Rex bit the suitcase hadn't been an ending. It had been a beginning. The start of something bigger than any of them could have imagined. A movement. A mission. A promise.
That no animal would suffer in silence. That no cruelty would go unchallenged. That as long as there were dogs like Rex, and officers like Mark, and survivors like Lucky, evil would never win. Because some bonds can't be broken. Some instincts can't be ignored. And some heroes, the best heroes, never stop fighting, no matter how impossible the odds. That's the truth Rex and Lucky proved. That's the legacy they left. That's the lesson Mark would carry forward for the rest of his life. Trust the bond. Follow the instinct. Protect the innocent. And never, ever let go.